Oh, that's not good.
It's running.
Is what it is. Yeah, they have body cams on. Their body cams out, okay?
Detectives won't.
I guarantee you they didn't.
Did you see that?
You watch them all?
You don't
What?
move on until they're happy.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
I'm guessing they didn't come to any kind of an agreement on their space.
Well, hopefully they'll figure it out.
No.
You have the video where you can run them off side by side and all that.
Let's go ahead and call the August 24th Planning Commission to order. First,
How about the September?
did I say September? Oh, I'm looking at the minutes. I'm sorry. It is September 28th. Anyway, Mr. Neri, are there any announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No announcements this evening.
All right. You all have copies of the August 24th minutes in front of you. Are there any corrections?
Make a motion we approve as submitted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, same sign. All right. We have no public comment cards for non-agenda items, and at this point, I'll open up the public hearing portion of the meeting. We have no old business. Mr. Neri, new business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see on your agenda, Redeemed Christian Church of God, who is requesting a conditional use permit to locate a church in a C1 zoning district, has deferred. They could actually be back as early as the October agenda, but certainly no later than November, which makes the second item on the agenda a revised site plan for the Kimberly Clark addition. This mainly pertains to additional parking and the landscaping that are associated with it. You have emails from both Chief Payne and Mr. Rahman blessing the project. After a second staff review, contingent upon any further commissioner comments, staff would recommend for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Commissioners, any questions of staff? Any questions of the applicant?
Any change from the subcommittee meeting?
None, except satisfying the comments that I asked to be satisfied.
Anything else? If there are no questions, then I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the revised site plan for Kimberly Clark addition, Lot 1A,
1R.
I'm sorry, 1R. Kind of hard when you look through the bifocals.
It's catching.
Yeah, it's, watch out, David. Kimberly Clark applicant.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Want to change it up, see if you guys are still awake. All right, Mr. Neri, the next item.
Next item on the agenda is the revised landscape plan for the Kimberly Clark addition. After a second staff review, staff would recommend for approval as resubmitted.
Any questions of staff by the commissioner? Any questions of the applicant? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the revised landscape plan for Kimberly Clark addition, Lot 1R, as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. At this point, we will convene the Board of Zoning Adjustments. Mr. Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 4 goes with item 5 and is the same applicant. In this case, it's section 94.412 district regulations. This is in regard to the storing of equipment or materials in the rear two-thirds of the property in an industrial zoning district. This commission several years ago granted this same variance to a gentleman named Keith Pfeiffer in the industrial district who wanted to store heavy equipment in the rear two-thirds of his property. Some of these were cranes, track hose, reaching several feet in the air. This particular entity is a division of John Deere, for those of you who didn't attend the subcommittee meeting. It will be a landscaping, warehousing, and distributing of those same materials. There could possibly be some trees stored in the rear two-thirds of the property that will be taller than 6 feet. That is the variance request that the applicant is requesting of you. This stays with the Planning Commission, or in this case, it stays with the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Are there any questions of staff by the commissioners? Any questions of the applicant? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the request for variance regarding Section 94-412, specifically the regulations do Section D, visual restrictions for the property.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussions on that motion? All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. We will close the Board of Zoning Adjustments and get back to the Planning Commission. And that is number 5, Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the preliminary plat for the So addition. You also have emails from Mr. Ramond and Chief Payne in regard to this item, which are probably the two most important that remain. Staff is going to recommend for approval contingent upon the satisfaction of both sets of those comments, both for Mr. Ramond in the construction phase and for Chief Payne as well.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Any questions of staff? Any questions of the applicant?
What was the business purpose? You said it's owned by John Deere, I can't remember.
It's a division of John Deere. They're the landscaping division. They will warehouse landscape materials and transport them to other sites.
So no point of sale.
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to, Mr. Chair, motion to approve the proposed preliminary plat of the So addition from Bradford Gaines applicant. Any other comments or questions from the commission or staff?
Have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussions on that item?
And that was the contingent on the satisfaction of the city engineer and the city.
That had been staff comments. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. All right. That concludes the new business, I believe, doesn't
No,
it?
got one more.
Wait a minute,
Extraterritorial.
I haven't flipped over the page yet. Oh, there we go, the extraterritorial, yeah. Mr. Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last item on the agenda is the Metroplex subdivision. This subdivision is just west of Wilkes Lane in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. As almost all of you know, and in fact I think all of you do know, the city enforces very little in that 1 mile extraterritorial jurisdiction. No code enforcement, no site plan review, no zoning, no permitting, no inspection. We don't even review the engineering. We leave that to Pulaski County, who the actual right-of-way, if any, would be dedicated to. In this case, it's Highway 365. The only thing we ask for, somewhat different in the ETJ than we do within the city limits, is we ask for a 45-foot setback from the nearest point of the right-of-way, which the applicant's project team has shown. It was one of the last comments I had. Probably the most important comment on these ETJ developments is satisfy all Pulaski County comments, because until they are, The final plat will not be signed by the city. Staff would recommend for contingent approval.
Questions of staff?
I have one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I know some of the landowners down there at the end of Wilkes, and I actually called them and seen if they had any objections, and having none of the two that I talked to.
I do have one question, and that is from Chief Payne. And in his comments, he was discussing the fire hydrants.
Yes.
And in the plat that we have here, I don't see any designation of any fire hydrants anywhere.
Mr. Ritter? I think what you're looking for is that they will comply with all of Chief Payne's comments.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that would be the best thing, and
I was just curious.
I actually wish I could answer that question, but I didn't even know about that particular comment, but I don't see one either.
And there is a water main down there because it goes, what's the subdivision on the hill, Mountain Terrace, where the big water tank is?
Yes.
Yeah, it goes all,
Yeah,
all the
Yeah.
pump stations there in the corner.
Well, Mountain Crest.
Mountain Crest. Yeah.
Crest, but that's quite a ways away from this piece of property.
Yeah, but it comes from 365 then.
I
Highway
understand
100.
that, but I'm saying was there wasn't one designated on there.
Yeah.
And I know that going down Wilkes, it's not going to be 500 feet, so
Right.
so there wouldn't need to be one going down that way. But I couldn't see where there was one by the property. So, but that was my only comment that I had. So,
Does the fire department serve into the extraterritorial area?
no, that would be.
That would be the
Volunteers.
volunteer folks.
I think it's Oak Grove, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
Volunteer.
Oak Grove. We do have a mutual agreement with them though.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other questions or comments, applicant and our staff? Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Oh, by the way, did you give your name and address for the record?
Mark Ritter with Holloway Engineering.
Almost forgot again. That's twice tonight. All right, that concludes, no, I haven't voted on that, have I yet?
That's three.
That's three. Okay. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we make a recommendation for the proposed preliminary plat Metroplex subdivision, Five Guys Holding, subject to completing all Pulaski County comments, also completing Chief Payne's comments.
Yes, Chairman Todd, it's not a recommendation.
Oh,
I
excuse
mean,
me,
Vice Chairman Todd.
it's catching. Subject to any other staff comments, commissioner comments.
This is contingent approval, right?
Correct.
So, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. That passes. We'll close the public hearing at this point and go straight into the liaison report. Commissioner Green, you had September 5th.
I had September the 5th. A couple items on there. One was a resolution approving the revised preliminary development plan for Natural Trail Estates. And then the first reading of the ordinance 925 concerning the streets and drainage dedication. So those are the two items that were related to the planning commission.
Commissioner Andrews, did you make it?
I didn't make it, but I watched it.
You watched it? Okay. Good enough.
Second reading on 942, the Natural Trails Estates, making those private streets. And then the first reading on 943, that limits the fee for building permits, which was actually a pretty good call. Helped out with our issue with the library, that if you remodel, you could end up paying 6 times as much in a building permit fee as if it was new construction. So they're getting that changed. That was it otherwise.
All right. Next month, I have October 2nd, and Commissioner Gershner, you have October 16th. There being no other items to come before, I call for an adjournment. Motion.
So move.
Have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Not quite, right? Close.
You know, they made